Okay, so tell us everything about Yo-Yo Ma.
So Yo-Yo is so giving of his time, and the way he interacts with people is the same when he's talking with you as when he's playing with you. And he was telling us about this backstage. The reason we play music is to connect with each other. It's about our humanity. He's really there making music in order to make lives better, to just bring beauty to the world and to make that connection with his fellow humans.
Hi, I'm Patrick Parker, and you're listening to the Becoming Who You Truly Are podcast, a show that helps us all live more authentic lives. This week, I'm joined once more by my friend from college days, Joy Bedillion. The first time she joined, she told us about how her love of travel helps her become more of who she truly is, and I'll actually attach a great conversation about her time in Scotland last summer at the end of this video. But today, we're going to talk about her recent experiences of combining her two passions, music and travel, as she went to Poland on a concert tour with Louisiana's Acadiana Symphony. By the end of this episode, we're all going to be inspired by Joy's stories about the infamous Red Violin that they made a movie about, staying at the Penderecki Music Center in Poland, her favorite memories from the trip, and how the life lessons she experienced on her big adventure helped her become more of who she truly is. Hey Joy, how are you?
I'm great, Patrick. It's good to see you.
Are you over the jet lag?
Oh, yeah. I've been home for a few weeks, actually.
Oh, really? Okay. You must have just posted the comments on Facebook then, because I feel like I've just been seeing news from it.
We keep getting like new pictures from like these professional photographers that were like working with us. And so like we just keep posting. But anyway, it was about 2 weeks ago that we got back. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us what you did, who you did it with, and how you were lucky enough to basically get paid to go on vacation to Poland.
Oh my gosh, it did feel like a vacation. Yeah, because you're just doing, what you love to do. I mean, honestly, favor of God. I'm a very, very blessed person. But about a year ago, I got a text from a good friend of mine. His name is Jarvis Philippe, and he is the principal cello for the Acadiana Symphony Orchestra, has been for several years. And Jarvis and I have known each other and been playing together for 15 years. So we're very good friends. We always have a really good time and play. We play very well together. And so he dropped me a text and said, "Hey, Acadiana Symphony is going to Poland. We're taking 2 cellos. You want to come with me?" I said, "Heck yes." So, and then my husband also plays with them, so he got to go as well. And a lot of my other good friends. So, yeah, it was an awesome experience, and I was, again, very, very thankful to be asked to go.
And actually, I lived in Louisiana for a few years. I was in Lake Charles while you were in Baton Rouge, but I've actually never heard of the Acadiana Symphony. So just tell us all a little bit about what the Acadiana Symphony is.
So the Acadiana Symphony is an organization that's about 40 years old, and they bring classical music and different. Actually, they bring all sorts of different styles of music to that city. It's a growing city with a lot of Cajun music background, basically a lot of Cajun music. But anyway, and they also have a school. The Acadiana Symphony is partnering with other schools in the area to make music education available to every child. And so there's a great story about actually one of the musicians that went to Poland with us on stage and was in the orchestra with us is a child that went through their educational program. So that was really cool, kind of full circle. And their maestro is Mariusz Szmoli, and he is Polish. And so this was kind of his spearheaded idea to take his orchestra to his country and show his people what he's been doing in the U.S. and show us, where he's from. And it was, very magical experience for us.
Nice. I didn't know there was a Polish-Louisiana connection, but actually there's a really strong Norwegian-Houston connection. So why can't there be a Louisiana-Polish connection?
There you go. Yeah. So he was the only he was the only Polish musician on the stage, but our orchestra, which was very small, there was only 16 of us. It was a chamber orchestra. Within that symphony, there were 9 countries represented. So quite diverse. But all people that are now, situated in the southeast of Louisiana, except for our soloists, of course.
Nice. So I've been to Poland one time. I've been through the Warsaw airport many times, but I've actually visited Poland only one time. And I'm curious if we could compare and contrast notes of our experience in Poland. So tell me what your general impressions of Poland were, and did you have any culture shock? Give us all the gossip.
I mean, my impressions of Poland, the people were so warm. The food was so good. And it's just a beautiful country. So I have nothing but good things to say about the country. So I don't know. No culture shock here. The language is very hard. Luckily, most people speak English. There were just a couple of interesting moments. One of them, let me tell you this story. This is funny. We were in the Krakow Opera House, and we had a concert, and our rehearsal ended late, and we had like an hour before the concert started, and nobody had eaten. And so we were all like, okay, we'll just stay here, and we'll eat at this little cantina that was like inside the opera house. And the woman running the cantina, there's only one woman trying to feed all of us. She doesn't speak English, and it was an absolute disaster. She kept having like these like long conversations, I guess, with herself, because she never stopped speaking. Nobody knew what she was saying. So eventually, one of the people that was on tour with us just like got behind the counter and started helping her, and like it was writing down like what everybody was eating so she could actually like check us out on the with the cash or whatnot. It was hysterical, but like she never stopped talking. I have no idea what she was saying, but
I think I had a very different experience of Poland than you did, so maybe I just won't share my experience.
no, tell me. I'm very curious now.
No, it felt like there was just a darkness there, and sort of like I could feel the oppression over the centuries. They've been occupied throughout the centuries by either Germany or Russia, and they haven't had the easiest go of it as a country. And actually, there's so many Polish people that leave the country. I think they have one of the highest immigration rates, as in people that leave the country. And so I don't know, maybe I was just projecting that onto the atmosphere that I experienced, and it wasn't actually there. Maybe everyone was really nice, but that was my experience when I was there. Was I just felt a heaviness in the air.
There's a lot of resilience in the Polish people. And I know exactly what you're saying. We visited a palace in Warsaw. It was King Jan's palace, and they have a ginormous art collection in this castle. But a lot of their art had been stolen during World War II. And they've been able to recuperate most of it, but there's still a lot that's missing, that the Germans stole. And so to like commemorate that, there is a hallway full of just empty frames, just representing all of the art that they don't know where it is. But and these are priceless paintings, stuff from Da Vinci's studio, and that we got to see. So anyway, so I know exactly what you're saying, but I think there is this resilience in the Polish people, and there is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. The royal castle in Warsaw has been completely rebuilt, and it's because Warsaw was leveled basically during World War II. But it's a beautiful city. It has been rebuilt. So
that's really interesting. I should probably maybe go learn a little bit more about Poland to try to open my mind and get past some of the initial experiences I had with the country, so that I can maybe see a more holistic and well-rounded perspective of it.
Yeah, I recommend it. And the food, oh my gosh, if you just go to eat, it's delicious.
What was your favorite food there? I'm vegetarian now, so I don't know if I could eat anything, but what was your favorite food there?
I don't know. You can't eat when I ate the pig knuckle.
Pig knuckle?
Yeah, it's pig knuckle. It's not like an actual knuckle of a pig, but it's some part of the pig, and they call it the pig knuckle. and it's smoked, and it's so good. But yeah, just like the only thing I can compare it to, like in the United States, would be like barbecue that's been smoked for like 18 hours. Like that's what it tastes like, and they serve it with different sauces, different like mustards and stuff, and over sauerkraut. It's delicious.
Okay, so that was your impression of Poland, and you've inspired me to maybe do a deep dive. But let's talk about some of your specific musical experiences while you were there. So I heard that you actually got to accompany a soloist that played the Stradivarius violin that they made the movie The Red Violin about.
Right. Yeah. Elizabeth Picard. She actually owns the violin. Her grandfather purchased it for her, many years ago. And yeah, this violin has this rich history. And a movie has been made about it. And we actually on the tour performed a suite from the soundtrack of that movie. So, Elizabeth's playing on the violin. She's playing the soundtrack from the movie that the violin was made about. So it was a really cool piece. Actually, it's more there's a little bit of improv in it, so it wasn't like my comfort zone. Something that I was super comfortable going into playing it, having never played it before. But it was one of those pieces that the more you play it, the more you enjoy it.
So for those people listening who may not have ever seen the movie The Red Violin, tell us the story of the violin that she plays on. Just give us the quick 1 minute, like zoomed out flyby synopsis.
I don't know if this is true, but I think the story goes that the instrument was varnished with blood. And so it's this Strad.
Wait, I want to be difficult. Before you tell the story, tell everybody what a Stradivarius violin is.
Oh gosh. Okay, so a Stradivarius violin is made by Antonio Stradivarius, and he was the Italian maker, and like he's widely thought to be the best of the best. So his instruments which are now over 300 years old, 400 years old, are worth millions of dollars if they can be authenticated. And so this particular violin is probably one of the most famous.
It's like the Rolls Royce of classical music instruments.
Yeah, exactly. The Cadillac. Like if you play on a Strad, you are something special.
And actually, a lot of billionaires and billionaires that buy Stradivarius is just to spend their wealth on something, they'll give it to a special performer that they like, right?
Right. Most people that play on these instruments don't actually own them. Elizabeth does own hers, but many of them are being loaned out to competition winners and soloists that have very, very good reputations. But they're not often owned by the actual instrumentalists that are playing them. So this was a special case.
Did he make any cellos?
He did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a cello of Stradivarius?
Sure. No, they're not. But like this is like kind of a good transition to like talk about like the amazing halls in Europe, the concert halls in Poland.
Well, wait. Before you go there, just tell us a little bit more about the story of the Red Violin. Anything you know about it?
I really don't know.
Shall we just Google it quickly?
Should I Google it or you Google it?
I can Google it. Hold on.
I don't have my computer open, so you can Google it.
Okay, here is what Google says. The Red Violin is a film that traces the history of a musical instrument through 5 countries and 3 centuries. The violin is made by an Italian luthier who paints it with a red varnish made from his wife's blood. The film follows the violin's journey from Italy to Austria, England, China, and Canada, showing how it inspires passion, talent, and tragedy in the lives of its owners. The film ends with an auction where the violin may find a new owner. So that's a little bit about the Red Violin, and that's a little creepy that this legend goes that he used his wife's blood to varnish it. I guess that's immortality in a way.
Yes.
But tell us about the concert halls, because I remember you telling me the other day that you felt like you were playing a Stradivarius yourself in these wonderful concert halls.
But yeah, everybody sounded like they were playing a Strad. You just like you play it and just the sound just goes, and so it was so special. The Penderecki Center was the first concert that we played, And that was kind of our home base because they had a facility that will house you as well. It's the brainchild of Penderecki, who is a famous Polish composer that lived in the 20th century. He actually just recently passed away in 2020. So he was looking for a house to kind of set up at base where he could work and compose, and he found this manor house in Luslovich. And so he lived there for many years and just had this brainchild that he was going to create a center for music festivals, music concerts, and he was able to secure the funding. And I think right now the state funds a lot of what goes on at the center. But the concert hall, it was built, and the architecture is just specifically designed for concerts such as ours. It just was so beautiful. Every single note was just enhanced and made magical by that hall. So that was our first experience. And Mrs. Penderecki actually came to our concert, so that was really special to put a face on the fame, and to have her listen to us was so.
A little nerve-wracking?
Yeah. I would say that. A little nerve-wracking, yes.
Well, you played in front of all sorts of classical luminaries like Yo-Yo Ma, right?
Oh, I played with Yo-Yo this year, and I want to talk about him a little bit, like maybe later in the podcast, because he had so many words of wisdom for us backstage that like have really like changed the way I play and changed the way I would view a trip like this. And then Hilary Hahn and Long Long and Emmanuel Axe recently. Man, that was cool. Emmanuel Axe.
Oh yeah, you have a little music crush on him, right?
I
Was that Daniel Barenboim?
Daniel Barenboim. Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen Daniel Barenboim, but I didn't get to play with him. Daniel Barenboim actually saw play and conduct the Berlin Phil in Paris. That was a fantastic concert, but that was many years ago. And then a bunch of vocalists. So we've played with Renee Fleming and Denise Graves. So yeah. So I've been very blessed to play with some amazing people. But can I talk about Yo-Yo for a second?
Yeah. And just for people who may not be classical music aficionados, that's like her saying that she played with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods and whoever else is a famous athlete. I don't know. I couldn't even name them. Okay, so tell us everything about Yo-Yo Ma.
So Yo-Yo is so giving of his time. And the way he interacts with people is the same when he's talking with you as when he's playing with you. And he was telling us about this backstage. The reason we play music is to connect with each other. It's about our humanity. And he's on stage playing with us at the rehearsal, and it didn't change in the concert. In fact, a lot of people in the audience picked up on it and started commenting on it. He is looking at you. If he has a solo with you, he is in your face. He was winking at my husband. I was so jealous. And Grant got so many smiles and winks because he was playing principal viola. And so whenever the cello was interacting with the viola section, it was hilarious. I was laughing. Grant was trying his best not to laugh, but the audience was picked up on it, and they asked him after. They were like, "Why was Yo-Yo winking at you?" But like that's his, that's the way he connects with everybody. He's really there making music in order to make lives better, to just bring beauty to the world and to make that connection with his fellow humans. And he talked with us for several minutes before the concert started. I would say he was probably with us for half an hour to 45 minutes. And if somebody hadn't shooed him backstage to say, "Hey, it might be time to get dressed," he might have talked to us for another hour. So, very, very giving. The nicest person I think I've ever met. You could feel the air change when he walked in the room. And, life goals, to create that much light and have that kind of love, like radiate from you It was awe-inspiring. And so I really took from that inspiration to make music in a different way. And so this trip was very special for me, making music at such a high level with musicians that are so high caliber, but also, you know, so many of my favorite people, and then not making new friends as well.
So how did Yo-Yo Ma inspire you to make music in a different way?
By connecting with who I'm playing with, and connecting with the audience. He Yeah, he was making eye contact with the audience. He walked in and waved at my little student on the front row. And she was so overwhelmed that she was crying on the way home. She's so happy. So yeah, very special. So just making sure that, like, you don't sit down and you just play, but your every note has a purpose. That, you know, I'm giving this to you. I'm making this music with you or for you.
That reminds me, I did a podcast episode a few weeks ago with Nancy Walker, who was a professor of voice at UNC Greensboro when we were students there. She knows a very famous operatic tenor named Anthony Dean Griffey, who's sung at places like the Metropolitan Opera all over the world. And she was quoting him as saying often in master classes that she sent her students to, that he would tell them that we sing not to impress, but to express.
Exactly. And, you know, it's hard as a musician because, you know, we all have these like insecurities. Like I feel like sometimes we put at least with me, I put this pressure on myself that every single note needs to be Grammy Award winning. And that's not, that's not real life. And that nobody is going to enjoy it if that's the expectation that you have.
Well, also the Grammys is just a political thing about who you know and who your friends are, whether or not they'll give you the award. Okay, so let's not even go there. It's not even about.
Right. But
if I say that, several of my colleagues in Houston actually won a Grammy or were nominated for Grammys, so maybe I'll just edit that out. Forget I said that.
Right, yeah. But yeah, like going back to Yo-Yo, I was listening to a podcast that he was doing with I think it was Fresh Air. And he said, you know, whenever he sits down, the way he approaches it is, you know, I'm gonna do my absolute very best in this moment, and that's gonna be okay. That's gonna be enough. You know, whatever I can produce in this moment, with my best effort, that's enough. And, you know, story told. And so I'm trying to approach my performances that way now, instead of getting, you know, locked up in my head and be like, oh my gosh, that didn't go like I planned. Meltdown. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And just do my very best for that moment.
Deep question of the day.
I'm nervous.
Yes, let's lean in, seriously. Do you think Yo-Yo Ma gets nervous?
I feel like it's such a human thing to do. But I don't know. You know, when you think of how many times he's played the Dvorak cello concerto, like, does he get nervous? You know, after like the 1,000th time? I don't know.
Is it possibly nervous and bored at the same time? If so, he probably feels both if he's played it 1,000 times.
I just don't know. I don't think he's thinking that. I honestly think, at least the impression that we got collectively as an orchestra, is that he's sitting down and making music for whoever is in front. He's not making it for himself. And I think that's kind of what makes us nervous. You know, oftentimes it's not other people's reaction to my playing that makes me nervous. It's my reaction to myself. I'm like, oh, I could do better. You know, like my expectations of what I'm capable of doing are sometimes what ends up holding me back. And I don't think Yo-Yo is thinking about that. When he played his encores, one of our good patrons that he, you know, worked with leading up to planning the concert, one of her favorite movies is The Wizard of Oz. And so his first encore was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Yeah, he's thinking about everybody. He's not thinking about himself. And so I don't know.
I'm sure that's not his favorite thing to play. I'm sure he would rather play Brahms.
Maybe, yeah. But that had such a profound effect, at least on me, knowing what he was accomplishing. Like I started crying, and what can you do? It's just a very moving moment. And I think a lot of people had that same reaction, not even knowing the backstory of it, but just it was is a very touching performance. So, I don't know.
Okay, so I have a theory about Yo-Yo Ma. In the last 30 seconds while you were talking, I wasn't actually listening. I was just psychoanalyzing everything you said about Yo-Yo Ma. Are you ready?
Of course. I'm ready.
Maybe he does get nervous because, as you said, it's a very human thing. I mean, we're social animals. We care about what other people, and I don't think it's possible to not care about what others think. But maybe he uses his connection with others as a skill to like not be nervous, as in maybe he talks with everybody or winks or plays the Somewhere Over the Rainbow encore as a way of turning the page from nervousness and, oh, will I be perfect, to like, okay, how can I help others?
Perhaps.
Maybe you should call him and tell him to do a podcast episode with me so I can ask him, is that right or not?
Oh, I'm sure he would be right on that, taking my phone call. Because I've got those digits,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This podcast is so viral. It's totally, it's not going to take him up, First Sesame Street, then playing for presidential inaugurations, and then this podcast.
Oh,
it's really on an upward trajectory there.
Don't forget that he was on West Wing, too. I mean, you don't get much better than West Wing.
Well, people often say don't ever meet your heroes because they're a disappointment, but it sounded like Yo-Yo Ma was anything but that to you.
No. I would say, if anything, like his mountain, like doubled in. In fact, like I printed off a picture that somebody took of him on stage and blew it up for my office. So now I can just like look at his face every day.
Okay, so question.
Yeah.
If you could make music, and that's not a metaphor for anything else, if you could make music with either Yo-Yo Ma or Daniel Barenboim, who would it be? In a duet, just the two of you.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Oh, that's hard. Probably Yo-Yo. Yeah, just because I know he would make me comfortable. I think Daniel might scare me.
Okay, we totally got enough of whatever script we had. Let's see. Where were we supposed to be? Okay, we did Penderecki Music Center, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. We were talking the other day about how superlative people were with their praise for you all after you finished the concert. And I've also experienced that here in Norway, that they really validate a musician's job well done. So tell us about a very special experience that all of you had after a concert.
Our conductor has a lot of connections in Poland, that's where he grew up. And one of his schoolmates is running a concert venue in Grodsk. I think that's how you say it. Polish is very difficult to understand or to pronounce. What do you think? Anyway, I think it was in Grodsk. And after we performed, he had organized a bouquet of flowers for every single musician on stage. And what I didn't tell you was he had one for Maestro's wife as well. Wow. She was with us everywhere on the whole tour and was watching and sat through all 7 concerts with her camera. Yeah. And so she got a bouquet as well. So that was really special. They had food for us backstage, the biggest spread we had seen all tour. It was just really, really, really sweet. How he came through for his schoolmate. Very, very sweet. So, but yeah, the audiences were lovely. One thing that we weren't used to that happens in Poland, like in the United States, if people are excited about what they've heard, they'll clap really fast. But in Europe, if they like what they heard, they clap together, and it's a little bit slow. So we were like, what's happening? So apparently that's a good thing, because they, at first we were like, oh, they didn't like it, but no, that's a good thing. And in most places we played at least 3 encores. I don't think there was any place that we played less than 2. And our last performance, we played 4 encores. So they were just, very warm audiences. And it was a concert of almost all American music. So, yeah, so that was something else to have them so excited about. about what we were bringing from America. I mean, most of the music we played was American.
For example, what repertoire, like Copland or?
Okay. So the Red Violin was composed by an American composer, John Corgliano. And then we played, you probably played these, Gershwin's Three Preludes.
Yeah, in high school. They're not easy, actually.
They're not. And we played an arrangement of them for, string orchestra and solo violin. So Elizabeth played those with us. We also played a piece that I had never heard before, but I think it's pretty popular, especially it's called a Chadwick's Serenade for String Orchestra. I've heard other people play it in high school, but I had never performed this before. But it was a great piece. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of cello lines, like really big cello lines. So that was a lot of fun. And then this is so funny. We played some of our encores were Leroy Anderson pieces. Leroy Anderson. You know him because he composed Sleigh Ride. Do you know that piece?
Oh, okay.
Sleigh Ride is my guilty pleasure. Like, that is the most fun thing to play. Like, at Christmas time, it's my thing. Like, I could play Sleigh Ride all December and never complain about it.
There's a famous British organist who plays on one of the big city hall organs that are still around, and he did an arrangement of Sleigh Ride for organ, actually, and I played that many years ago.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've already talked to because our symphony, the Irish Symphony, we play it every year. And so I've already talked to our executive director, and he tells me next year, he's going to let me do the horsewhip, because I love that part of it. I'm going to duck around the cello section and go get my horsewhip so I can hang out with the percussion section.
Okay. And the year after that, you can do the bells. And the year after that, you can do the at the end.
No, that's the trumpet. I will not be able to do that.
Oh, the trumpet?
I can manage the horsewhip. Yeah, the trumpet does that. I can't do that. I have baby lungs. So, and then we played a movement from Dvorak's American Quartet. And let me talk about the Leroy Anderson. Sorry, I'm going back and forth, but Leroy Anderson composed a piece called Fiddle Faddle and Plink Plank Plunk. And
he was not composing six voice fugues like Johann Sebastian Bach, was he?
No, but his music is so fun and so hilarious. And I mean, honestly, while we're playing it, there are moments when I can't stop laughing. I'm playing it and I'm having such a good time, and it's just funny. And so I would be laughing in the most beautiful we played in two castles, and I think we played at least Plink Plank Pluck both of those castles. I'm sure it's the first time those castles I've ever heard Plink Plank Pluck. I am positive.
I'm so glad that was the American gift to the castle, Plink Plank Pluck.
It was the highlight of the program. And so yeah, they didn't know what they were in for, but that was one of my favorite parts. Anyway, so that kind of wraps up we did play John William Schindler's List as well.
Oh, that's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, beautiful music. And we played that as an encore in several places, and that was very special, especially playing that in a country that's also so much has seen so much war.
One of my guilty pleasures is figure skating. And that's a very popular piece for figure skaters to do, because there's so many lines that can do all their spins and everything.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous piece.
Overall, what was your favorite moment, your favorite experience of the trip?
In the Warsaw Royal Castle, which has been completely rebuilt, right? Because it was leveled by the Germans. We had a British soprano, and her name was Elizabeth Llewellyn, and she was the most down-to-earth person I think I've ever met.
That's rare.
It really is for a vocalist and somebody that of her caliber. Her singing was just absolutely amazing.
Wait, can I just go back? Sorry to interrupt. I just want to go back to something I thought of when you were talking about Yo-Yo Ma. So for people who aren't professional musicians, it's a really big deal to meet someone who is giving of their time in the classical music world, because many people who are not famous, who are not soloists, like they just show up 1 minute before rehearsal and they leave right on the dot. And they're like, it's a bit repulsive actually to me. Like those kind of people who are just like, I don't really want to be here, but I'm here, but I would rather be making my music, or like there's a divaness to it. So for someone, period, in classical music to show up early and just want to be in fellowship with others is really abnormal, especially for someone of his caliber. So that just really speaks volumes to his character.
It does. Yeah. And Elizabeth was the same way. We had a lovely meal together in this little Polish town right before our first rehearsal with her. And she just, she just told us all about our life, was asking questions about us, our families, and just so generally down to earth. And so it was extremely special for us to be in this, the prettiest place I've ever played. That was that Warsaw Castle. And she sang Amazing Grace. And so, it just hits you, and a spiritual experience for sure. And a few of the other pieces she sang were African American spirituals. And those probably have never been heard in that room as well. And so it was a very emotional moment. It was hard to come up with words, and I think it came across the audience. They really got it. They went crazy over her. So everybody wanted pictures with her. The orchestra wanted pictures with her, and we were all lined up. So, oh, please take a picture with me.
Did she sing the verse of Amazing Grace that almost never gets sung?
Are you talking about the second verse or the third verse?
Yeah, it's the verse, yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace.
Oh, it's beautiful. What is that, the second or the third verse?
I don't think I've ever seen it printed in a hymn book, actually. But I only found the verse when I was making a tribute video for my grandmother, because she asked me that no matter where in the world I was, that I would go home and play Amazing Grace at her funeral, because when I was in high school, I made my own little arrangement of it and everything. And so I wasn't able to go home, so I made a YouTube video. And I told some of my favorite stories about her, and how I ate all of her chocolate chip cookies and she scolded me, etc. And but yeah, I included that verse when in the song, because I guess I looked up the words to include on the video, underneath my playing. But that verse, I had never seen it anywhere before, and it just captured my heart. It's
beautiful. It's beautiful. I don't think I'm not sure though, honestly. Because I had to concentrate a little bit on accomplishing a few notes there. but that's beautiful. So I'm not sure if she sang that verse or not.
When this life is over, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace.
It's beautiful.
I think Amazing Grace is just in the collective DNA of humanity. Even people who haven't heard it, they hear it, they're like, I know that song.
Yeah, it's definitely a favorite. And a lot of people have composed songs that have used similar words that are just so profound. Do you know that new worship song, My Chains Are Gone, I've Been Set Free?
I know it because Pentatonics is one of my other guilty pleasures, and they did a medley of Amazing Grace and the version that you're talking about. They're really talented. Yes, they do pop music, but their arrangements are quite sophisticated. They even have counterpoint at times.
They're very impressive. Everything they do is really impressive. I used to sing in choir when I was a teenager, because my dad.
Say it ain't so, Joy. You hate singers.
No, I don't. Hey, I've never said that.
Lies. In undergraduate, you were very prejudiced against the singers.
I was not prejudiced against the singers. They were a little bit more high energy than I was.
Okay. Fake news.
But there's nothing more beautiful than the human voice, I have to admit. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, I sang in choir when I was growing up, but it always made me so dizzy. I just wasn't in good shape, I guess. the air leaving my lungs would make me just like a little woozy. But so I know how difficult that is. And so the pentatonics, yeah, man, they're impressive. I like them a lot.
Okay, so last question I have for you today. I have to ask it because, I have to stay on brand, blah, blah, blah. How did the trip help you become more of who you truly are?
Well, I mean, I think the way I wanted to answer that question, like, I hate to keep talking about yo-yo, but but it's really like that deep human connection like that we made as a group, and to our audiences, the Polish people. Like I said, a lot of those people that we were with, I've been playing with for 15 years. My husband was on that trip. My business partner, many of them are, I would consider family, even, my very best friends. And so, yeah, it's a weird thing being on a bus with so many people, and some of them were new friends for 10 to 11 hours at a time, but not getting tired of each other. That trip could have gone south real quick. All it takes is one person that's like really whiny, and then it's like it ruins it for the rest of me. But those people were all just absolute gold, and so that makes the music making experience even more special, and creating music at such a high level. And our conductor is so inspiring. He's very demanding, and I think you and I have talked about this before. That's something that I crave. I love somebody who's going to be like, this is the standard, and you will rise to it, or we will sit here until you do. That's like my thing. I just love that. So
That's how it was in the first chapter of my career, but here in Norway, that would never fly. They're really laid back here, and that would never fly.
I'd say that's how I grew up. And so, many of my most favorite teachers were like that. They were just absolutely brutal. Not that Maestro was brutal, because he wasn't. But, he was...
Well, there are pros and cons to both ways.
Yeah, but he's demanding, and he knows what he wants, and we're going to sit here until it sounds the way it should. And I just love that. I love the fact that this is important enough to put forth the absolute best. And so, yeah, it's that human connection that we made, and that experience that we had together. It's the coolest thing I've ever done. I travel a lot, but traveling and taking music with me to a different country, that's something I have never done. I've been on tour, but in the United States. And so it was very different, being overseas and doing that with, like I said, some of my most favorite people, and new people that were super awesome to meet and to get to know.
Well, next time y'all go on tour, if you need a harpsichordist or an organist or a pianist, you got my number, okay?
Yeah, I got your number.
And I will be hitting up Yo-Yo Ma if he's the soloist again for my podcast.
Drop my name. I'm sure he'll answer.
I'll be like, Yo-Yo, come over here to this corner. Leave them alone. I need you for an hour. Come.
Right. I know. I mean, yeah. Oh, such a great guy.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for being with me again today, Joy. It was fun the first time talking about Scotland, and it was fun to talk about this Poland trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And for everyone listening, don't click away just yet, because in 5 seconds, there's going to be a segue to our conversation about Joy and her husband's trip to Scotland. Hi, everyone. As you know, I believe that travel is an integral part to becoming who you truly are. And over the last year, I've loved sharing moments with you from my time in India, Paris, and of course, my life here in Norway. Well, for this video, I thought I would wrangle in my old college friend, Joy Bedillion, because she and her husband recently went on a wonderful summer vacation to Scotland. Hi, Joy. How are you?
I'm great, Patrick. How are you?
I'm good. So I know that you and your husband really love to travel. Y'all been to Iceland, to Scotland, and where else have you been?
We've been to London and Paris and Jamaica. We love national parks here in America, so we've been to a lot of the big ones like Yellowstone and Yosemite and the Grand Canyon.
What is it that you and your husband love so much about traveling?
We love new experiences, and we're kind of a little bit different in that. And like, he loves to sit next to a beach, and if I don't hike a mountain, I feel like I haven't been anywhere. So, and with Scotland, he wanted to see some castles, and I wanted to hike some mountains. So it was a perfect place to go this year. So I love to look back, and those experiences really shaped who I am.
Let's go ahead and jump into your first adventure in Scotland, which was Harry Potter.
So I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I've probably read the book 4 or 5 times, which is a little embarrassing, but I think they're just magical. And J.K. Rowling lived in Edinburgh and wrote most of Harry Potter while she lived there. So there's a small graveyard called Greyfriars Kirkyard where she would go to get inspiration to write. And so you'll see gravestones that have, say, Tom Riddle's name on it, or McGonagall, I believe. And there's a few other characters that she drew inspiration from. There's a train, a steam engine train, travels through Scotland. I think it's about 84 miles long. And it's called the Jacobite train. And that is where the Hogwarts Express scenes were filmed. The far-off shots that you see of the train moving through the Highlands.
And Harry Potter, like you said, was a big part of my childhood as well. J.K. Rowling would release the books in July on the years that she published, and my birthday's in July. So, in my adolescent ego development stage, I thought that God had created J.K. Rowling herself to give me those books on my birthday.
I'm sure you're not the only one.
Yeah, and another big part of my childhood besides Harry Potter was the story of the Loch Ness Monster. And I heard that you may have seen Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster, while you were there.
I might have seen her poke her head out a couple of times. That was actually one of the serendipitous moments. We were going to go to the Loch Ness Museum because they have that whole museum dedicated to Nessie. And I'm super excited about it. Then we get there and it's closed for renovation. So that morning, we booked a boat tour on the lake where you can actually, go look for her. And it was stormy and gloomy, and so it was a perfect day to go Nessie hunting. So we had a great time doing that.
Let's move on to the next part of your trip, which you told me was your favorite part, and that was seeing the puffins.
When we were looking into visiting Scotland, I bought a guidebook. And I opened the book, and in like the first 2 pages, there's these pictures of the puffin colony. I think I bought my tour tickets to go see the puffins 2 minutes after I bought my flight. So anyway, they're a huge draw for me. They're so cute and adorable, and just baby puffins are called pufflings. I mean, how can you not want to see them? In order to get to the puffins, we had to take about 5 ferry boats. And ferry boats, I've always been fascinated by them. My grandfather had a house on the lake, and we would go every summer. So I've always loved boats, and I've always thought that in my next life I would be a ferry boat driver. So we got to ride the ferry boats to get to the puffins, and on the island where they live, there's no structures. It's absolutely uninhabited. So you pull up and you see nothing but birds everywhere, and they like humans. They don't like seagulls because they eat their young. And so since we scared seagulls, they really like us, and so they'll hop over and fly over to you and get pretty close. And yeah, so really, really enjoyed it.
So Joy, I'm so glad that you had this magical puffin experience, and tell us about another really cool experience that you had on the Isle of Skye.
The Isle of Skye is just known for like its magical landscape. It's got these landslips and these rock formations that just make it this super special place. And much of the island it's ginormous. It's remote. Although there are a lot of tourists there, it's easy to drive around the island and find places where there aren't lots of people. So we were staying in what was this almost hobbit-looking hut, and it's so picturesque. You're right on the shore, and you hear sheep behind you. And then our neighbor was actually practicing his bagpipes one evening on his front porch. It was just the quintessential Scottish experience. And I had one of those moments where you just say, oh wow, this is life, this is real life. But then as far as the landscape in the Isle of Skye, everybody goes to the Isle of Skye to do these fantastic hikes, which are quite demanding but very worth it. You're taking pictures, and it's almost like, what do I not take a picture of? That is the question. You just want to just have the camera on your face the whole time, but then you can't experience it. So
I was in Big Ben, I guess 4 years ago now, in Big Ben National Park. I had that similar experience where I wanted to take a picture of everything. And then I put my camera down because I realized that it just wasn't going to do justice to what I was seeing.
And that night in my journal, I wrote down something that has been a little semi mantra for myself since. And it's a little bit cheesy, but it means a lot to me. And I wrote in my journal, beauty, a camera can't capture it, a mind can't absorb it, but a heart can be transformed by it.
I love that. The whole time I was hiking, I just kept saying over and over in my head the Psalm 23, "The Lord restoreth my soul." My husband and I were classical musicians, and we work long hours. I'm a business owner, and so anybody that's ever owned a business knows it's like having a baby that never goes to sleep. It's a 24-hour job, and so being able to get away is just really, really important for our lives to have that type of rest.
I had a similar experience when we were up in Lofoten Islands, I guess 3 years ago in the north of Norway. Well, of course, in the winter, it's like all ice and snow, but in the summer, it's incredibly green and there are sheep grazing everywhere, kind of like what you're describing. I didn't necessarily think of Psalm 23, but I just felt my whole body relax. And it was a really special feeling. And I don't think I've felt that peaceful since I've left Lofoten 3 years ago, actually.
But I remember hearing the story about war veterans and how they have been doing these experiments by sending these people that have PTSD to Alaska and just putting them in the woods for 2 weeks at a time. And the healing effects that has on the mind, it just makes you feel small, how healing that can be, being surrounded by mountains and God's beauty.
So it wouldn't be a proper YouTube video about a travel experience if we didn't talk about the food you ate. So tell us everything.
The Scottish time national dish, what they're really known for, is called haggis. It's organ meat from a sheep or a calf that is cooked in suet, which is hard fat from a sheep's stomach. I had been on a lot of different travel articles that said, don't think about it, just eat it. And it was delicious. I didn't think at all about it. I ate it, and it was, I think, probably the best meal I had while we were there, actually. It tasted just like meatloaf.
Yeah, what you just said reminded me of, I think when I was in third grade, my parents took me down to South Carolina. I'm from North Carolina, as you know. We went to Myrtle Beach for the weekend, and my dad ordered calamari, and I loved it. Afterward, my dad was like, "Do you want to know what that is?" And I said, "Okay." And he said, "That's fried squid or fried octopus." And I started dry heaving. So I think you're right. Just don't worry about what it is and just enjoy it.
I mean, there's a reason it's so popular.
Yeah.
Very tasty. And I had actually had it while we were on the Isle of Skye. We were on this little bay. It was right as we crossed the bridge. There was this really cute little restaurant that was right on the bay. There was a marina right out in front. So we got to watch all the sailboats while I was eating my haggis. Actually, at that very restaurant, they served a wonderful fish and chips, which we did not try while we were there. But on the way off of the Isle of Skye, that's what my husband really wanted to eat. And at that point, I think we had fish and chips like 5 days out of the 5 days we were there. I really did not want fish and chips. I really wanted a piece of pizza. And so I was like, do you mind if we just like keep going just a little bit and see if we can find something that might, be good for both of us? So we crossed the bridge, and immediately as we got off, there was a little fish shack. And right next to it was a little hut that made pizza as well.
Tell us about the night at the bar.
Oh, this is a funny story. So driving in Scotland is very different than where we're from in Louisiana. Obviously you're on the left side of the road, and then your driver's seat is on the right side of the car. So everything is different. And on top of that, a lot of the roads in the Highlands are only one lane, even though there's 2 lanes of traffic. So they have these little pull-offs where whoever gets to the pull-off first has to, get over, and then you just wait and until somebody passes you. And that's how it goes.
We have those in north of Norway also, and it's terrifying, especially when the transfer trucks are coming at you head on.
And these double-decker tour buses, and in the Highlands, there's all these switchbacks, and the speed limit is 50 miles an hour. So you don't know what's coming around the curb on this one lane. So that was our first day of driving. And so by the time we got to our hotel, we were exhausted and just like so tense. And it was just out in the middle of nowhere. It was just one of those hotels I had booked because it was on the road. So we pull into the hotel, and little did we know that we had booked at the happening place on the 3 street town. The bar was completely packed. There was nobody sitting at the front desk to check me in, but there was a little sign that said, if nobody's here, go to the bar. I walked around to the bar. The lady was like, oh, we're so glad to see you. Here's your key. She didn't check my ID or anything. And she said, hey, if you don't mind, if you hear the cat at the front door, can you let the cat in? Sure, I'll let the cat in. I think this is my new favorite place. It was like Mayberry in Scotland. And it was a banking holiday, I think is what they called it. And so it was a party weekend is what I should say. Nobody had to go to work the next day. So they were up until probably 2 a.m. I were trying to sleep right above it, but we just turned that brown noise or something on our phone and it was fine. It was fine. No problems. But a lot of fun. It was one of those surprises.
I found the same thing, that often my most memorable parts of my trips are the parts that aren't planned. Like when I went to India, going to a barber shop, that experience was so singularly unique. And that's funny how often those spontaneous moments in travel are the ones that stand out the most.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I love to plan, kind of be ahead of the game, but when we leave that at least little room of flexibility, that's often like where the magic happens. There's always those moments where you actually think at the time, I'm going to remember this forever. Those typically always happen when you least expect it.
So I said it wouldn't be a proper vacation video on YouTube if we didn't talk about the food in Scotland, but it wouldn't be a proper Scotland video if we didn't talk about the castles that you saw. So give us the gossip.
Oh, the castles. The first castle on our list was Stirling Castle. It's like right between where the lowlands and the highlands meet. And so back in the day, like if you occupied Stirling Castle, you occupied the country. You were in charge. And then our second stop, we stopped at Balmoral Castle. And it was about 20 minutes before they closed. So like I said, that was one of those moments where we just left a little bit of flexibility and they let us in. I was shocked that they let us in 20 minutes before the castle closed. There's only one room open and that was the ballroom. And they had a really awesome display of the royal family's personal photos. Queen Elizabeth, she would spend every summer there. And, Queen Elizabeth loved her dogs. And so she has her corgi graveyard in Balmoral Estate. And so we got to go look at her dog, visit her dog cemetery. In Scotland, dogs are very important to them. Leaving flowers on the graves, they would leave sticks. And so every time you go to a little pet cemetery, there's piles of sticks on each grave. And so that was really cool. But we had the place to ourselves because it was like 30 minutes before it closed. So everybody else was already gone.
That sounds really special. And I love the idea of a dog graveyard and sticks instead of roses. That's just totally up my alley, of course.
My absolute favorite castle was Edinburgh Castle. And that was the most crowded, but it was the most crowded for a reason, because you got to see all the cool stuff. The crown jewels of Scotland, the Stone of Destiny, which has been used in the coronation of Scottish kings for centuries and centuries. It was stolen by King Edward around 1296 and taken to England. So it's been used in all of the English coronations since the throne was joined. Actually, probably since 1296 when it was stolen. So anyway, it was returned back to Scotland in 1996. And now it only goes to England for the coronation. So it was actually there for King Charles's coronation. But it was returned and I got to see it. I was so excited because we had been to Westminster and I'd seen the throne. So I knew where it was supposed to go. There's a little sign that says, here's where the stone goes. But you have to go to Scotland to see it. And so now, we got to see it. And so that was very exciting for me. Edinburgh Castle has housed prisoners for every major war since it was built, basically. So a highlight of the castle for me was seeing where the Revolutionary War soldiers were kept from America. And they...
Like the United States American Revolution. They were kept in Scotland.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They captured some of our prisoners and held them in the castle. And they have the prison doors on display that were used for these prisoners. And even back in the day, people were drawing and graffitiing on the doors. And so I actually got to see a little American flag that was etched into the prison door.
And that's another thing I love about traveling is there's so many parts. Like I'm a huge lover of history like you are. We both love David McCullough's books and,
right.
We both just devour history. But when you go and travel, first of all, you actually get to see the places where the people that you've read about have walked, and that's powerful. But the other thing is you get to learn about all these little facts that you really can't find in a book, like the American flag on the door of Edinburgh Castle, where the prisoners of the American Revolution were kept, like who knows that besides you,
Yeah. And so the MacLeod clan is based in Isle of Skye, and their castle is called Dunvegan Castle. And so we got here to sit Dunvegan. And some of the stuff that they have displayed in that castle is just amazing. It was built in probably, I think the well was built in like the year 1100. So there's a lot of history there. One of the clan mothers found her child being wrought by a fairy in this cloth, and they left it behind. And so the cloth took on significance where if they went to war, they had to take the cloth with them because otherwise they wouldn't win. And so it's kind of tattered, and I mean, it's 1,000 years old, so of course it's all tattered anyway. But it's on their wall, and that's the most important thing to them. And right outside of the castle, there was a woman who had an owl on her shoulder named Guinevere, and she let me hold Guinevere. And so that was very Harry Potter-esque, and I got to get my picture too with this beautiful owl. She was very sweet. And it's one of those moments where you're like, yeah, I'm in the right spot. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
That's awesome. Well, Joy, I so appreciate you taking the time to make this video. Is there any particular way that you'd like to end our time together today?
Yeah, if you have the resources, you take a trip, go somewhere that you've never been before. You never know what you might see. For me, traveling has brought a lot of light into my world. I'm a lover of light, not of darkness. So, it's been, I would say, life-altering and life-changing.
Nice. And I certainly treasure the memories that we have of our crazy, zany undergraduate days. And yeah, it's good to catch up with you.
Yeah, you too.
That's it for this week's podcast. If you'd like to support the channel, you can head on over to patreon.com/PatrickAAParker. And while supplies last, I'll send you a free Audible version of my book, Becoming Who You Truly Are, with your subscription. Thanks for watching, and as always, I wish you nothing but the best in your life's journey to becoming all that you truly are.